it's not monotonous. No, it's not a 9 to 5 job. It's not a Monday to Friday. Your weekends may be touched. Your holidays are um, not sacred, so to speak, right? There are no Christmases, no holidays. But after your flight, if you're a line pilot, after your flight, you say thank you to your partner and say safe drive home and be with your family, be with your friends, and enjoy and relax. That's a nice thing about being a pilot. Back to knowledge, na inquisitive. I told you earlier, be inquisitive because pilots always learn every day. They have to know, or they have to be inquisitive. They have to be asking questions why, in order for them to understand something. The aircraft, the hardware, the software, etc. It's not only the aircraft, mind you. Later on, I'll show you a video to give you an example. It's also your partner. If you're a first officer or a co-pilot, to understand your captain. If you're a captain, to understand your first officer, your second officer. So it's a continuous learning. No? KSA, knowledge. Next is skills. Practice, simulator training, evaluation, flying experience, communication comes with time, experience, and dedication. Now, I told you earlier, we have to study a lot because it's not only because of the lives of the passengers and crew, no, or your own life that's at stake, but also every 6 months we are trained and evaluated. If we don't pass, we lose our job. That's for the riding public, no, in an airline. That's for the riding public. That's for the crew, and that's for our family as well. And as a training organization, as director of training, I make sure that we have competent pilots. KSA, knowledge, skill, and one of the more important ones is attitude. You have to have integrity. You have to have optimism, wanting to learn, keep yourselves motivated. Discipline and commitment. I want to touch on discipline. Discipline is simply doing the right thing. Doing the right thing without anyone looking at you, or without you putting on a show for the other, right? It's a way of life. You have to have the right attitude for you to become pilots. Challenges that we face, no? They're unaware of the system's knowledge and understanding of the manuals. No, they're unaware of SOPs, notices. They're unwilling. Ayaw. Alam nilang meron. They know that they have notices to read and manuals to study, but they're unwilling because they lack discipline. Sometimes, more often, they're complacent. No. But those are the factors that we are always trapping, and we're always, bringing them back to your basic KSA. And obviously unable. For the effects of COVID-19, we've basically reduced operations from the 2019 figures of 100%. We were down to 15 to 20% operations. Airlines in the region are now back to 40%. But study shows that recovery will be in 2025, just in time for the grade 11 students here, right? And an article back in 2020 said that back 2021, the world needed 27,000 new pilots. Because of attrition, because of a lot of factors, expansion, etc., pilots will be that we will be needing pilots worldwide. Okay, I told you the proper communication systems knowledge. I'll show you just a quick video of how we fly. This video is on takeoff, and upon takeoff, the engine would burst, will catch fire. And for some pilots or parents that are pilots audience, we really made this video for instructors, and they purposely made mistakes so that we can train our evaluators to have a standard way of grading them. So just a short video.
For 1, maintain runway heading, climb 7,000 feet, runway 06, cleared for takeoff.
Maintain runway heading, climb 7,000 feet, runway 06, cleared for takeoff, Philippine 1841.
Takeoff.
You see how precise they are.
Hand flex 62, SRS runway, auto thrust.
Watch their hands, part of our SOPs, the manuals. The way we communicate with each other is all part of the SOPs that we have.
Check.
If we don't follow SOPs, we won't be able to understand each other. That's part of crew resource management. Teamwork, task sharing.
B1, rotate.
Engine fail. Aircraft is still at
Stick 9,
Gear up.
gear up.
Full heading.
See how the pilot on the left seat, he's the captain, commands the first officer on the right seat.
Pan,
And he does it and communicates.
Engine failure. Turn right, to DME, turn right, heading 270, intercept track out rate 250.
Roger sir, Philippine 1841, switch 124.4 for instructions.
124.4.
I have controls and communications, become actions.
The controls communications, departure 124.
See how precise they are in doing
Engine
their
one,
procedures. And
Engine
yet,
mode selector.
they have an engine that
Departure
Caught
Philippine
fire
1841,
and is damaged.
2 DME, right turn heading 270, intercept rate of 250, pan, 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 pan.
Roger sir, Philippine 1841, radar contact following company published engine.
So just some, pictures of when I took my family to my flights. This is in Hong Kong, Japan. Aircraft delivery, I was part of the team that took in the first Airbus 321 in the country and the first Airbus 321 Neo in the country. Also part of the privilege is to fly heads of state. And of course, the most memorable last January 17, 2015 is flying the Pope. Someone asked in the questions, do I get scared when I fly? The answer is absolutely yes. Why? I am confident that I know and I'm trying to understand the manuals. I'm confident that I know my procedures, but I need some konting kaba. So I won't be complacent. Back in 2015, I was also awarded the Aviator of the Year for Safety or Airline Pilot of the Year. Just some last words. A mile of highway will take you just 1 mile, but a mile of runway will take you anywhere. Of course, the helicopter pilots won't agree to this as they will only need a landing or a takeoff pad, right? Later on, we'll go to the open forum just by Walter Raleigh. The engine is the heart of an airplane. but the pilot is its soul. So with my a little over 15 minutes, thank you very much again for inviting me. And I hope I was able to inspire the students here this morning. And I hope to fly with you soon. Thank you very much.
Captain Narciso, maraming salamat. We
Thank
know
you
that
po.
the video you showed was just a flight simulator, pero medyo nakakaba pa rin yun. But what's nice about that is it showed the importance of proper communication. Captain Roland Narciso, maraming salamat po ulit. We will have one more speaker before our speakers take in the questions of our students, and we're encouraging all of the students to post your questions on the chat box. We'll be asking them later on. Yai, for our next guest.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Okay, for the next speaker, Engineer Reynaldo C. Piamonte is also a good friend. He was my classmate, I think, in Filipino class way back in college. Engineer Piamonte is the senior manager for the network planning and engineering of Globe Telecom Inc. He received his Bachelor of Science degree, major in electronic and communication engineering at the De La Salle University, Manila. With his educational background, he has been involved with the telecommunications industry. In fact, he designed hidden cell sites to cover the pyramids of Giza in Egypt, as well as cellular coverage in Kuwait. Engineer Piamonte was also a key personnel in the designing and operation of the data signal at the 2010, 2013, and 2016 automated elections in the Philippines, as well as in the 2015 APEC. Aside from his very busy schedule in Globe, he's also involved in the community via the disaster response team as an officer of their homeowners association and as a treasurer of an amateur radio club. In his spare time, he plays basketball, does practical shooting, swimming, scuba diving, car slalom, golf, and mountain biking. Please welcome Engineer Reynaldo Caraig Piamonte.
Good morning, everybody. Actually, I'm pretty nervous. This is my first time to take to an Ateneo crowd. No? I've been doing talks to LaSalle engineering students and Ateneo engineering students, but not on the high school level. As a matter of fact, I was doing career talks also to grade school students from LaSalle Zobel, but I'm pretty nervous right now because, again, as I've mentioned, this is the first time to talk to a pure Atenean crowd. Good morning, parents, teachers, faculty, and to the students. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ray Piamonte. I was popularly known in Globe as Batman. It started as a moniker, as always being reliable from my days in San Miguel and Smart. So let me share you a story. Why did I choose to become an engineer? Well, I asked my colleagues this week, why did you take up engineering? Because they were expecting the salary here as a telecom engineer or as an IT professional was quite high. Some of the parents here or some of the students might have noticed this week, Philippine Daily Inquirer released a press statement that the telco industry is the highest paid entry-level job coming from the data of JobStreet. So that was one of the feedback of my engineers. They were expecting a very high salary as an engineer when they graduate. Then I also asked them, what else? They told me it was the shortest course to have a moniker or a label before my name. A doctor would take at least more than 8 years. A lawyer will take maybe more. I'm sure. I'm not sure with attorney yet. But an engineer, you can have a label of an engineer as a minimum of 4.5 years. So that was one of the things they want to experience. And then I asked also one person, it was quite funny. Why did you take up engineering? And then he replied, during enrollment, this had the shortest line. So definitely, this is the easiest course that I would take because nobody was enrolling. But apparently, he was mistaken. So on my part, if you ask me, why did you choose engineering? Many of you would say, as a child, you have a knack for playing stuff, building stuff with Legos, or if you have a broken remote control on my part, I would open it up and try to see what's wrong and make it work again. Well, that's one. Second, I grew up in Batangas. And when I was a child, till I was a teen during summer and Christmas breaks, it would take me a long time to make a long distance call to my friends or parents back here in Manila. So we have to travel 30 minutes to go to what we call Bayan or the center. And then we have to line up in a public payphone just to make a long distance call. And another, during the time that the international call was very expensive, I'm not sure if many of you are aware of this, but most of the Balikbayan family and friends would send cassette tapes of their messages. So at that time, maybe I'm thinking about around how much, maybe 20 pesos per minute to 50 pesos a minute for an international call, depending on which country you're calling. So at that time, the situation on the ground was that telecommunications was very bad. It was not accessible to everybody. Not everybody had phone available. And then if they have phone available, it was very expensive to make a call. Now, this is something funny. As I was telling Yai, I graduated from prep till college without any violation report. But during the height of my senior year, at that time, we didn't have Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Our social media is what we call as telebabad. So we tend to call girls from other schools till early morning at home. So at that time, that was our social media. But then again, when we were at school, we ended our class at around 5:30. Most of my classmates didn't have phones. So what we did at that time was that we found a phone book near the football field where there was nobody staying or waiting for their fetcher. So what we did was we brought a handset, a phone, and a wire. Then we climbed up a phone booth and tapped physically the phone booth. So this phone booth at that time was what we call tatlong 25. So you put 3.25 cents. At that time, it was considered very expensive to make a call, which is good for around 3 to 5 minutes. And then you have to put in additional 25 cents again to make the call continuous for every minute. So we were calling together with my classmates, girls from other schools with an illegally tapped phone. So we were cheating PLDT at that time. So what happened was we were doing this for weeks. Well, we were young and crazy at that time. So finally, we were caught. We were brought to the principal's office. It was sad because it was our sense of togetherness with my barkada. But eventually, we got off unscathed. Luckily, I was with the honors class from grade 6 till high school, and we were just given a tap on the hand. We were forgiven. I'm very thankful till now because at the end of the day, I didn't have any violation until I graduated from college, from my school. So that was one of the greatest influence for me. I realized there is really a very sad state of telecommunications in our country. And then, of course, one cannot deny that there's a family influence. No, my dad was a chemical engineer, and my son is a mechanical engineer at UP. So this was similar to one of the influencers one of the influences experienced by other peers in the industry. Family is also one of the considerations in choosing your career. Now, the question is, what does it take to be an engineer? Do you need to be a math genius? But basically, not really. But you have to have a curious mind. You have to have a interest in solving problems. You must be willing to do design and experiment. And you must love math and science. Not necessarily excel, but you must love to do math and science problems. And then, of course, nobody graduates from engineering by themselves. Now, you have to have a group. You have to learn to like everybody, so that you have the capabilities to synergize the projects or meet deadlines together as a team. Now, if I may add, there are three important things to consider to become an engineering student. One is time management. You have to have the balance between study, sleep, and social life, all of which are important as anchors of an engineering student life. Second, you have to master the art of problem solving. In engineering, you are not bound to know everything about the field that you have taken. Instead, you are bound to figure out things while you progress as an engineer. And then my last note to you is that it is important learning how to learn. You can only end up in two ways after every semester as an engineering student. It's either you pass or you fail. In both ways, you should know that the end point should be learning. When you pass, make sure you have gotten the knowledge you need. When you fail, stand up and redeem yourself from that failure and learn your lesson. Well, to cite an example, you must really strike a balance. No? To make it more interesting, let me share to you an anecdote of what my college life was. I was studying a lot at that time and not balancing my social life. And then something happened, quite funny, but I guess everybody will experience this. I fell in love with my first girlfriend. And then I was part of the engineering team for basketball. So there was no time for studies. So at that time, when I was courting my girlfriend, I told her, okay lang matalo kami sa basketball championship at bumagsak ako, basta sagutin mo ko. Funny thing is that she gave me the sweet yes. We won the championship in the basketball for the whole De La Salle University. But I flunked 4 major subjects in engineering. Well, the good thing about that is that I learned the next sem, I took all the repeat subjects and then I passed them with flying colors. In math, as a matter of fact, when I took the board exam, I was able to luckily get a perfect score in the board exam. I wasn't able to get a top 10 position, but for me, that is quite an achievement, having perfected the math board exam portion. Now, what do I do in my job? What are the things that I love about my job? If I may ask you, what is the first thing you reach out when you wake up in the morning? Is it go to see a Bible verse? Look to your social media account. Check on your family or your friends. Connect. Post something, what you feel. Watch TikTok or YouTube. Join Zoom meetings, and eventually for weekdays, for you students, report to class. In each of the things we do, we are dependent on telecom technology to get what we need. From the moment I wake up in the morning, I see my kids sleeping in bed, and then till the time that I put them to bed. So all of the routines I do, they are all connected to the telecoms, to the service that we provide in Globe. If I may add, the work of an engineer is never routine or predictable. There's never a dull moment. One day you're in the office, the next day you might be talking to an LGU or a corporate client explaining things that you are doing. One of the satisfactions I had also was that when I was assigned in Egypt as an OFW, I was tasked to design and implement enhancement of signal for the pyramids of Giza. So the challenge there is to provide signal without a tower visible for tourists to see and to act as a photo bomber when they are taking selfies or groupies. No? So that was one of the challenges I had. So I had to innovate to come up with a design to hide the antenna system and the radio so that it cannot be seen by anyone. My second stint was that I was also tasked to to work in Kuwait to come up with a design in case there will be another invasion. So there was a task for me to design the cellular industry to be hidden. Okay. Now, again, on my part, it is not always sweet things happening now. As part of the challenges I had in my career, one cannot deny that we have a very high attrition. When I say attrition, these are engineers leaving for abroad, meaning the challenge here as a leader on my part is for me to train again new people. I have to hire new freshly grads and train them. So every time I train them, it's a very steep learning curve. And then it's a very long time for them to attain a certain level of technical competency. Another challenge I have is that engineering is a continuous learning process. In my job as an electronics and communications engineer, it doesn't stop me from expanding into fields like mechanical engineering and civil engineering. At one point in time, I was forced really to study via Google University and other third-party courses. I was tasked to learn all the details of structural engineering, even though I was an electronics engineer. So again, this is really something that everybody must adhere to. It's a continuous learning, even learning new IT technologies like TCP/IP, phishing, malware, ransomware, and everything. So this is a task for all engineers. And of course, with our busy schedule and workload, one of the challenges common to engineers is that we tend to get burned out. So it's really the task of us, again, similar to being a student, to balance the work and life, rest and recreation. And it's always imperative for you to have a goal in your life, which is to give comfort to your family. So it pushes us, again, to wake up early in the morning to report back to work. So one of the most critical challenges I had was talking to people, especially in high-end subdivisions like Corinthians, La Vista, Forbes Park, and the likes. They have a tendency to decline or stop the installation of cell sites in the area. So it's very challenging to talk to these people to ensure them that there is no such thing as harmful radiation being emitted by the cell sites of Globe, Smart, and the likes. So that is probably one of the most challenging thing that I had in my career as an engineer. Now, you asked me, what will be my legacy as an engineer? I believe I'm connected also to Captain Rolly and to the first speaker. Is it Alicia or Aliana? I forgot the name. Sorry about that. No. As I look back on my career, no, what does it come to mind to be my essence? No, is it helping out restore signal in typhoon flung areas hit by typhoons like Undo, Yolanda, and Odette? Or is it having worked with meaningful assignments like the papal visit, the COMELEC automate elections, providing signal to trains like the MRT, LRT, and sea routes, especially for our RoRo route now? I would directly state in giving voice and SMS and data coverage for the children across the country who needs access to online modules from school. This will be the epitome of my career. No? So every time you think of the phone signal, whether Globe, Smart, or Dito, hopefully you remember me, an engineer who ensures you are all connected to family, friends, and colleagues. We make sure every time, anytime, you could access the information that mattered most to you. Again, thank you very much for this opportunity to share a few minutes of your time. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Engineer Ray Piamonte, also known as Batman, maraming salamat po. Engineer, we're going to ask you to stay and we'd like to call in our earlier speakers, Ms. Isabel Lacson and Captain Roland Narciso. To answer some of the questions that were sent in by the students who listened to your talks, we're also encouraging everyone to kindly, the speakers, to switch on your cameras so that they will be able to see you while when you respond. I want to ask the first question to Ms. Isabel Lacson. We're talking about exploring during your talk, shifting majors and shifting careers, but how do you know that this was it? This was the major that I'm going to take. This is the path that I'm going to take, and this is the career that I'm going to be in.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Ron. I think it sounds corny, no? Pero when you feel good about your decision, I think that's really where it began for me, no? Like I when I shifted out of chemistry to international relations and economics, I enjoyed the classes. I was really interested in what I was learning. So I think when you have that gut feeling that you're in the right kind of position, and I also felt that way about the jobs that I took. I talked earlier about like having at least 6 months to kind of test if you're really interested in it. Um, I think once I was feeling good about my decisions to leave or to take on a new job, that's when I felt that I made the right decision. So I think for the students, it's really it's important to know yourself also, when you're making those kinds of decisions, big shifts and things like that. Yeah.
Did you have to consult a lot of other people or just a couple of people, your parents maybe? What percentage of that is gut feel as opposed to maybe recommendations and suggestions?
Yeah. No, I think when I was in college, it was really a lot also of like the people around me, my friends and my peers. Yeah. So, I talked to other students who were taking up international relations. I talked to other friends who were also thinking of shifting their majors. So it was important to me to learn from other people's experiences as well. So I think the last speaker also talked about having, a good network and, working together as a team. And I think it's important to when you're in those kinds of positions, to have peers that you can run to, people that you can trust, to bounce off ideas and possible decisions.
Thanks for that, Isabel. Now, for Captain Narciso, you mentioned that every day was a learning experience. Let's talk about learning. For you, you trained to become a pilot through the Philippine Air Force, but for some of the students who may not take that track of joining the PMA and then having trained with the Philippine Air Force, there was a question about what flying schools would you recommend? But maybe a better question is, how does one choose which school or training center is going to be better, is going to be more appropriate?
Yeah, thanks, Ron, for the question. And I was exactly going to answer that. No? Any flying school would do, but for the parents and the students to look at the track records, the safety records of the school, how they conduct their training, how the instructors facilitate, no, when you do your orientation. That's when you will know or you will see how effective the school is. No? And the service reliability also of the aircraft. That's the most important. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Captain Narciso. Now, Engineer Ray, you talked about challenges, but I'd just also like to maybe talk about expectations about those who want to take an engineering track. How does one prepare to become an engineering student? What should they expect? What should they prepare for if they want to take an engineering course?
Well, it's not only being good at math. I had a classmate who was very good in math. Unfortunately, she didn't like drawing. She was a girl. After 2 semesters, she had to change shift. So one of the things you really have to have is that you have a knack of solutioning through drawings, through mathematical computations, reverse engineering. That's one of the traits that is also important, because at the end of the day, there might be a good solution, but there can be different approaches to a problem. So you have to have this curiosity also open always on your part to arrive at a solution using different methods. So yeah, aside from being diligent in your studies, you also have to be creative. That's one of the two of the attributes that's being that I implored that the student would have in order for have a successful career. I mean, as a successful stint as a student, no? And then as an engineering student, you should also persevere and have what you call a strong heart. Because when we started in engineering at my university and also with my son, you start with 100 students. And as you go on, there will be a lot of people dropping out, mainly because they give up on having to study till early morning and practicing their mathematical equations and science projects. So basically, we have a batting average of around 25% for ECE. So you have to have a very good fighting heart. As what we have in Ginebra, you should have Ginebra basketball team. No, you should have this never say die attitude. No,
Yeah.
I have this classmate who was not that good at math, but he was very persevering and consistent. So another two traits that you must have. So again, in any careers that you choose, in engineering, as a lawyer, as a pilot, or an advocate for food program, you must be persevering. Yun lang po. Good morning.
Okay. Briefly, from the three of you, let's start with Isabel. There are always going to be challenges, even before you start your career. How can you give an advice on how to deal with challenges, Isabel?
How to deal with challenges. I think maybe the students already know this, but it really is a part of life. I think it's important to really have your network in place. You know, yung tutulong sa inyo, yung
Your
sasalo
support
sa
group.
inyo. Yeah.
Right.
Family, for me also, I'm really lucky that I went to really good schools. So my friends from high school and college and graduate school, like I'm really happy to say that I have really good friends in my team. So I'm the kind of person that always consults about decisions and challenges that I experience. And I think just having your support network in place, just to make sure that you are looking at challenges from different perspectives, and getting good advice would be my tip.
Thanks, Isabel. Captain Narciso, you have to make split-second decisions while you're flying a plane carrying a lot of passengers. And then there's always going to be challenges. There are always going to be problems while you're doing that. How do you deal with that?
In a mathematical problem, there's always the given, right? And challenges and obstacles are given already as part of life. That should be accepted. That's the first and foremost thing that we all need to have, no? Acceptance. No? And nowadays, from my experience and what I see, people are too busy looking at the challenges and obstacles, and they miss focusing on solutions. Now, you have to keep an open mind. You have to be optimistic. You have to stay positive with the support that Ish mentioned. You have to find solutions, because that's the only way to go over those obstacles. There's always a solution. It will pass. This pandemic will pass. Whatever it is that you're going through right now, it will pass, and there will be solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Narciso. Engineer Ray?
If I may add, challenges is a gift. If there's no challenge, life will be pretty boring. there will be no room for you to improve. Now, luckily, I'm an engineer. All the challenges we had can be solved mathematically. Simple, moderate, to very hard problems. No? Normally, hard problems as an engineer are those that are very expensive solutions. Like, for example, traffic situation in Metro Manila. There's a solution there. Subway, elevated skyway. The problem there is money. That is beyond us. So one thing that's very nice about very difficult challenges is that as an engineer, sorry about this, forgive me, Lord. This is the time that I always pray. Sometimes when I'm thinking out loud, when I have a difficult challenge, I pray to all the saints, even to Santo Papa and to the Lord. Lord, give me guidance to come up with a solution on how to solve this challenge. So it's a gift. It's a tool for us to grow. Otherwise, life will be very boring without challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the three of you. Very inspiring words. Now, before we let go of our first batch of speakers, we'd like to read out the certificate of appreciation that we will be sending to all three of you. Mrs. Christine Uy, CPR Filevet Torres, will do the honors. Christine?
Thank you, Ron. The Office of Parent Relations and Programs and the Parents Union for School and Home wish to acknowledge, thank, and express our deep appreciation for the valuable insights shared with our Ateneo students by Ms. Isabel Francine H. Lacson, Captain Roland Atilano Narciso, and Engineer Reynaldo C. Piamonte at the mini career exploration talks entitled Creating Your Own Career Roadmap, given on this 29th day of January 2022 at the Ateneo de Manila University, Loyola Heights, Quezon City. Signed, Mr. Honorio and Attorney Jessica Ann M. Lacson Hizon, Chair Couple, Grade 11 Push Council, Father Alberto V. Ampil, SJ Director, Parent Relations and Programs, and Mr. Noel P. Miranda, Principal, Ateneo de Manila Senior High School.
Thanks, Christine.
Thank you very much.
And again, we'd like to thank our first three speakers, Ms. Isabella Lacson of the UN World Food Program, our man in the sky, Captain Roland Narciso, and Engineer Ray Batman Piamonte. Maraming salamat po for sharing your time with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Stay
for our
safe.
students and all the other guests that are joining us in this event, we have three more speakers coming up. Please don't go. We have our public health advocate, we have a special education teacher, and a cybersecurity specialist. But we're going to take a quick break, a 2-minute break. Just stand up, walk around, but please don't leave us. Please come back after 2 minutes. Okay, I'll see you in a bit. Sorry, I may have skipped something. Are our guests still here? Isabel, Captain Narciso, and Engineer Ray?
Yes, I'm
still
here.
Okay, sorry about that, but we're supposed to be having a souvenir photo with everyone, with all of you. So I'm going to ask you to switch on your cameras again, and all of our guests as well. My mistake. Sorry, is Captain Narciso still there? Okay, I'll be the one to try to have him included in the photo. But I would like to ask everyone if they can switch on their cameras so that we can have a souvenir photo with our guests this morning. Can everyone do that, please? There you go. Nice to see your faces. Good morning. Anyone else still there? Okay, I told it to go to a break, so it's my mistake. I apologize. Isabel and Engineer Ray, if you could just wait for a couple of more minutes just for the photo.
Sir Ron, I think Captain Narciso's back.
Yay! Captain Narciso? Captain Narciso, can you hear me?
Yeah, I took off my.
Sorry, I'm really sorry. We're supposed to have a picture with the students. So if you could have your camera switched on, please.
Okay, is it on?
And then maybe we'll just wait for the other students to come back from the break. Or maybe freshen up a bit. Madaming malamang hindi nakapag-ayos pa.
Miss Vaughn, can we pin Captain Narciso, please?
Yeah, we'll just wait for that. And then we can have our picture taken.
He's not appearing on the slide.
Just give me one more minute. Okay, is Captain Narciso pinned already? I sincerely apologize to Isabel and Engineer Ray.
No worries.
Yes, sir, but unfortunately, hindi po lumalabas yung video on the 5th frame. So, sorry, technical difficulties sa ganito.
Okay, so are we still pushing through with a photo of all the available people here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sige,
Okay,
let's have that
ready?
photo.
Ready? 1, 2, and 3. There you go. Just one more
Okay.
to be sure.
One more.
1, 2, and 3. Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Isabel and Captain Narciso and Engineer Ray, aside from the certificate of appreciation that we're going to be sending you, we're also going to be giving you a small token of our appreciation with that. But again, thank you very much for taking time to be with us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I guess we've had enough time for that break, and we can continue with our next 3 speakers. And for that, we're going to call on Mrs. Michelle Cruz, our grade 11 Push Council Vice Chair and CPR for 11 Campion. Michelle? Michelle, I think you're still on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you. So the next speaker is a personal favorite of mine. I am happy to introduce him because I am related to him. He is my nephew. Mr. Anton Lorenzo V. Avancenia. He is a public health advocate and currently taking his PhD at the University of Michigan. He finished Bachelor of Science in Public Health Science, minor in biology at the Santa Clara University. He also finished his Master in Science in Global Health Sciences at the University of California in San Francisco. He is the founder of Sexual and Gender Diversity in Public Health at the University of Michigan. He has conducted numerous researches and has published various peer-reviewed articles as well as non-peer-reviewed reports. He is also presently a research assistant and teaches undergraduate and graduate courses in public health and health policy. He likes going to concerts and live music shows, traveling and cooking, and if I may add, taking care of his dog, Kiko. Let us all please welcome my nephew, Mr. Anton Lorenzo V. Avancenia.
Thank you, Tita Michelle. This feels like a family affair. Tita Ron is here, Tita Michelle is here. I'm very happy to be here. So I just want to make sure, can you see my slides, everyone? Can't really see most people, but
Yes.
You can.
okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, so I am a graduate of Ateneo High from class of 2008. And so I start with that information because I think, I want to make sure that you're aware that we all started from the same kind of position or spot. And hopefully the information that the speakers, including myself, share with you this morning are all going to be helpful as you kind of take your journey to find your careers and your professions. So like Tita Michelle mentioned, Mrs. Cruz mentioned, I am currently a PhD student, a doctoral student at the University of Michigan in the United States, which is where I'm calling from. I basically am a researcher, an educator, and an advocate, as my introduction kind of nicely put it. As a researcher, I basically use data to answer certain questions in public health and healthcare. As an educator, I teach graduate and undergraduate students, mainly at the University of Michigan, although I am trying to be a professor somewhere. And so that would mean I would move to a different university and teach and do research at that institution. And then finally, like most people in my field, we are really passionate about making sure that the policies and interventions we have in place, including, for example, for pandemics like COVID, are both efficient and equitable. And I'll try to explain those two terms in more detail in a few more slides. So that's me in a nutshell. Here's a couple of the research that I've done in the past, two of which were based in the Philippines. So these are what are called peer-reviewed science or research, which means I write it up, I do my analysis, it gets sent to people everywhere in the world, a couple of people, and they critique my work. And the idea behind peer-reviewed research is that hopefully it's improving your science because you're getting views and perspectives from other people in your field. So that's what I do. I've been fortunate through my work that I've traveled to a couple of places over time. I've obviously done some work in the Philippines where I was born and raised, but I've also traveled to Indonesia, to Sri Lanka, Papua New Guinea, Australia, Switzerland, Ghana, South Africa, Rwanda, basically where projects are based and where people like me get hired to do some work. So it's been a rewarding career in that respect to see the world and see the world on someone else's dime. So iba yung nagbabayad. But besides, aside from the travel, really, it's I think what's really most rewarding about the work is my impact, my impact on health, on public health, on population health, and trying to advance justice in health in the ways that I can. This is one of my favorite photos from my work. I was in Papua New Guinea, which is one of the Pacific island nations off the coast of Australia and attached to Indonesia. And I did some work there on malaria and got to meet the Chinese and Australian dignitaries and representatives to Papua New Guinea to talk about how Papua New Guinea was doing in their malaria work. So that was really exciting and fun. Yeah, this was 245 weeks ago. So anyway, going back to where this all started. So again, I was in your same spot in Ateneo High School. I was section M in my senior year. And it became very clear to me that I was getting very interested in health and science. So I did pretty well in those classes. I really was interested in the study of biology, chemistry, and whatnot. But at the same time, I was also passionate and committed about, service to others. We're always taught to be people for persons for others, men and women for others. And also, this concept of social justice, making sure that we're building a much fairer society or world where we can. So putting those two things together, it kind of makes sense for me to pursue medicine. So in high school, when I graduated, I knew I wanted to be a doctor or a physician. And so that naturally brought me to the health sciences program at Ateneo, the college. And health sciences is one of the kind of leading pre-medical degrees or majors, courses, I guess is what it's called, in Ateneo. And forgive me for this photo. I Googled health sci Ateneo, and this photo came up, and I understand now why, because Robbie Domingo was in my class in high school, and also we were in health sci together in Ateneo. I just also realized that I also came from the same class as Kylie Versosa, so I'm name dropping there. But anyway, the idea behind health sci, and this might interest you, is that after your 4 years of college, you could transition to the medical school of Ateneo, which is called ASMPH, in a more seamless way than if you moved from Ateneo to a different medical school, say USD or UP. So anyway, so that I was, very convinced that this was my path. And of course, life happens, things happen. And one of those big events for me personally was I moved to the United States in 2010. My family had moved here much earlier than I did, 2005. And I ended up getting into one of the Jesuit schools in the United States called Santa Clara University. It's based in Santa Clara, California, which is where Silicon Valley is, where tech companies are, Apple, Google, Facebook, you name it. And I pursued my pre-medical studies, which was the public health major there. But I slowly learned that healthcare, right, medicine, being a physician, it was not the only way I could be involved in public health or the health of people. I realized that there are other factors that contribute to the health of people. And those include our education, our access to it, the level of education we have, economic stability, our income, wealth, and social, community, environmental contexts, meaning, are your roads safe? Do you have clean water? Is your food accessible? Or do you mostly have access to fast food? That kind of stuff. So all of this are shaping our health. And it's not just healthcare, which is what doctors are mainly concerned with, that are really affecting how we live and thrive as people. So that led me to this new field of public health, which is really concerned with prevention of disease, prolonging life, promoting health through a couple of different ways. And so this is public health is really now the field that I'm in. And there's many ways for somebody to be involved in public health. You could be in emergency preparedness, disease prevention, outbreaks. COVID is one of them. So funny because in public health school, you will learn about, the Spanish flu outbreak of 1900s, and now we're living through an actual one, and it's kind of sad, but also fascinating from a public health perspective. Health promotion, obviously, like I said, I do mainly research and also teaching. So this is what public health is in a nutshell. I think it's really helpful and easy to understand what the field is when we compare it to kind of the individual level approach of medicine, right? So if you're a doctor, you're a physician, you're really treating individual people in their conditions. By the time they get to you in your clinic, they're already sick and they already have a fever or they're already complaining about something. And public health is really forcing us to ask, why are they sick in the first place? What made them sick? how can we prevent that from getting worse, or how do we prevent that from getting sick, other people from getting sick in the first place? And so we're really dealing, instead of individuals, with populations, with people, with groups of people, right? So women, children, the entire Philippines, you name it. So different populations instead of the individual. For time purposes, I will skip these two slides and just continue with the timeline I have here. So after I graduated with my bachelor's, I ended up working for public health departments in California, which was really important and fascinating. 2 years in, I decided I needed a graduate degree, so I got my master's in global health from a California university called UCSF. I would end up working there for 3 years doing malaria control and elimination. It actually brought me to the Philippines a couple of times because the Philippines is trying to eliminate malaria. Eventually, I started my PhD, which is where I am now. In 2018, I got selected for a pretty prestigious fellowship here in the United States called HPRS. And then right now, like I said, I'm graduating from my program. I have worked with a couple of different research institutions, which is kind of fun. I've published a number of papers. I've received grants for my work, and I teach courses in public health, both at the college and master's level. So that's me in a nutshell, and kind of my trajectory. Obviously, you won't follow the same one necessarily, but I wanted to give you some points about how I got to where I am, in case those are of interest or are relevant to your experience. So I've already talked about kind of the three things I do, which is research, teach, advocate. The other skills you might need to be a public health professional are the following. Obviously, you need a college or graduate degree. There are master's programs called Masters of Public Health. They're typically awarded for people who want to be in public health. So that's something you might want to pursue. In the Philippines, very few colleges offer this. The College of Public Health in UP Manila is probably a premier institution that does this. Regionally, you can get this from Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong. So, I would look into those nearby places, but also look into the US as well. I have a resource for that later. Another thing you might need to be in this field is to really be analytical and apply your critical thinking skills all the time. So if you're trying to understand the health phenomenon, let's say COVID, right? We didn't know COVID was a new thing, literally with this, at least the SARS-CoV-2. We didn't know it, we had to study it. And so scientists in public health had to really apply their skills to understand what it was, how do we prevent it, how can we get better from COVID. And the last two things are kind of more intangible. One is, science is team-based. You're always going to work in teams, so you have to be okay with that, and not just be okay, but thrive in it. And then finally, I think public health at its core is really committed to justice, social justice, right? And so if you don't have that, it might be really hard to be in public health. So just keep that in mind. So if you're interested in pursuing a degree, a graduate or undergraduate degree in public health, especially in the US, I would visit this website. This is the accrediting body for public health programs in the United States. And so they would list all the schools and departments that have these programs that you might be able to apply to. And many of them do offer scholarships. So definitely explore those options as well. You don't want to have to pay for your entire degree on your own, especially in the US where it's a little expensive. The Philippines, I just want to bring this back to your context, our context. There are many organizations that are considered public health agencies because they affect, like I said, health in different ways other than just healthcare. So there are government or public agencies. The OH obviously is the premier one. FDA, PhilHealth. You could also work for private and nonprofit companies. Some of these actually were born out of Ateneo, which is kind of fun. And then, like our speaker earlier today, you can work for World Food Program, international organizations, many of which have offices in the Philippines, or if not regionally in Southeast Asia. So you could still be close to home. So all I'm saying is there are many places for you to be a public health professional and pursue this work in meaningful and in ways where you get, you can actually build a career in a profession and get paid for it. So that's important, right? Finally, I just want to end with this note. Obviously, I told you my story. I told you kind of the decisions I made, how I got to public health instead of medicine. I've already told you that public health is not only needed in the world, it's not only something you can get paid for. So the question really for you, specific to the experiences that I had and the career I'm in, is to ask if this is something you love and if this is something you might be good at. And if the answer is yes, then you've found your purpose, or in Japan, they have this idea of ikigai, which is your reason for being, and you can pursue it. So anyway, I just want to leave you with this, and I encourage all the students signed on today to actually maybe draw these circles at home, and then literally just fill them in with your answers, and you use that as a guide as you're trying to understand where you want to go with your life. So thank you, and again, I appreciate being here, and it's nice to be back home.
Anton, thank you very much. Please
Of
stay
course.
with us. We'll have a couple of questions for you later after our next two speakers. That was Anton Avancen. For our next speaker, Michelle.
Thanks again, Ron. So the next speaker, I am also proud to introduce. She is a grade school classmate of mine. She is Dr. Genevieve R. Cabalia, PhD, PTRP, and she is an expert in pediatric physiotherapist and a disability advocate. She received her degree in Bachelor of Science in Physical Therapy and her master's in Special Education at the University of the Philippines. She is also a Doctor of Philosophy in Special Education. Presently, she is the Executive Director of ALRES Philippines. It's a nonprofit organization that partners with government agencies, LGUs, civil society organizations in providing more accessible and quality healthcare and education for the most marginalized children in the country. She's also a consultant for Save the Children Philippines, working for inclusive education for learners with disabilities and IP learners in 60 public schools in regions 5, 6, 8, and 10. She has 7 pet rabbits, and she enjoys traveling with her family. They eat and try to stay fit together, even with all of the eating. Let us all please welcome Dr. Genevieve R. Cabalia.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thank you for that kind introduction, Micah. So I'm happy to be here with you this morning to share with you my career journey and hopefully inspire the students attending this mini CAREX by telling my story. So I never really planned to be where I am now. It was a matter of choices, some randomly made, while others were more well thought of, opportunities thrown my way, and the openness to explore new paths that has led me to my chosen vocation. So I actually just realized it was my vocation later on. So initially, it was just really responding to opportunities that came my way and moving forward with my plans. So I am a pediatric physical therapist by profession and a special educator. I work with children with disabilities and their families, as well as advocate for the inclusion of marginalized children in schools and communities. So simply put, I work for children to be given the chance to go to school and be accepted. Have some of you seen the Disney movie Encanto? So it's a beautiful movie about this young girl named Mirabel who didn't have special gifts like the rest of her family. She was ordinary, but she ended up being extraordinary, the most extraordinary of them all. So allow me to quote her. In the movie, she said, "All I need is a change. All I need is a chance." So we all want to be able to change the way things are at one point in our lives. Choosing our career path is one such chance. When I was your age, I never really pictured myself being a physical therapist, nor a teacher. I also didn't see myself yet as someone who would put up my own clinic, much less a school. I thought, like the previous speaker, Anton, I thought I wanted to be a medical doctor, but ended up being a different kind of doctor. So allow me to share with you what I do for the next few minutes and how I ended up doing what I'm doing. So why did I choose this path? How did I prepare to take this path? What were the challenges I faced? And where do I go from here? So these are just some of the questions I wish to answer this morning. I'm also a parent of two. My son graduated from Ateneo Senior High School just last year and is now in the Loyola schools. He was with the ABM track and is now taking up restaurant entrepreneurship. My daughter is about to graduate from college and is applying to med schools. So siya na siguro she will live my dream for me. She's currently taking up sports science. Deciding on a degree to pursue was not easy for both of them. So they too had to answer these four seemingly simple questions. Why? How? Why not? And where to? The most important of them all is the question of why. So I've always wanted to become a pediatrician. That is the main reason why I chose to pursue BS Physical Therapy or PT as a pre-med course. On hindsight, it wasn't just the choice of degree that led me to taking up PT. I also wanted to explore the world outside of Katipunan. Thus, the choice to go to UP Manila instead of pursuing BS Biology in Ateneo, much to my mom's dismay. All three of my siblings are Ateneans. She would have wanted me to stay closer to home than to live in a dorm. But she and my dad eventually allowed me to enroll in UP Manila. So I enrolled in physical therapy. Physical therapy or physiotherapy in some countries is an allied health course, along with occupational therapy and speech therapy. There are now different subspecializations of PT. You can get these expertise in these subspecializations by enrolling in postgraduate courses and doing clinical and research work. I chose to specialize in pediatrics. Others specialize in sports, PT, and work with athletes. Many others also work in hospitals as part of the rehabilitation team, helping people recover after a stroke, heart attack, musculoskeletal conditions, and other injuries. Although they sound alike, physiotherapy is different from psychology and psychiatry, which deal more with mental health conditions. So the course you would initially take and your motives for taking them may actually still change, even if you're already in college, when you're already in college. When I was already in my final year of PT clinical training, doing our hospital rounds, I reconsidered going to med school. Do I actually see myself working in a hospital full-time? My answer was no. But did I still want to work with children? Yes, I still did. We had the chance to work with disadvantaged children with disabilities when we were still interns at PGH and UP. That was a UP camp. That was a turning point for me. I wanted that to be my future job. It felt fulfilling being able to help and support children with disabilities and their families and provide them hope. So I've always believed in being prepared for opportunities that may come, even if I don't know yet if such opportunities exist. I just want to be able to grab opportunities that come my way by being ready for them. Diba? Laging handa. Sayang naman kung may opportunity, tapos hindi ako ready and qualified for that opportunity. So I embarked on my career being always on the lookout for the chance to move forward with my plans in spite of the twists and turns. After I finished my degree and passed the board exams, I put up a small therapy center in one of my mom's properties and leased it from her. So she was my lessor. So at that time, I was so young, I was just armed with passion and idealism, risking everything for the startup I believed in. I did not have a business background, so it was really trial and error in the beginning. That startup called Alres is now celebrating its 25th year this year and has grown immensely from its humble beginnings. But it was never an easy journey. I continued studying and expanding my knowledge and my network in the field of education and disability advocacy. It also helped that God blessed me with a husband who teaches business operations in the Loyola schools. So together, we have grown the business and allowed it to survive even during this pandemic. He, by the way, is also True Blue Atenean. He is one of the many people sent my way to make my dreams come true. So as the first speaker said this morning, your network of support is very important for you to be able to fulfill your plans. Now let's talk about another character in the movie Encanto, Bruno. No. So another one of the many characters or the main characters in Encanto. One of his quotable lines is when he said, "You can't hurry the future." Getting to where you want to go takes time. Not all of your choices will be right. And you may encounter major setbacks even from situations beyond your control. You know that pretty well since at this moment, we are all experiencing the impact of the pandemic. As much as we'd all want it to end, we are still far from seeing an end to it. We can't hurry our future, but we can make our present more bearable by staying positive. I believe in second chances. Just stay the course, and you'll get to where you want to go, even if it may take longer than planned. It's been more than 25 years since I graduated from college, but there's still so much I want to do. So I work with babies as young as 3 weeks old. These are usually babies with Down syndrome and other genetic, metabolic, and neuromotor conditions who are at risk of developmental delays. I provide early intervention for these babies along with an interdisciplinary team of other pediatric therapists and medical doctors. A big part of my job is working with families to guide them in caring for their children who have been born special. So many of these babies are now adults, like this young man to the right. I first saw him as a swaddled 2-month-old baby. He's now 23 years old and is one of my inspirations to keep on doing what I do. So welcome to my office. This is how my work area looks like. My work is play and vice versa. So I teach babies how to roll, how to sit, stand, jump, climb, hop, and later on prepare them to get into sports and other fitness activities. We teach children, pediatric PTs teach children fundamental movement skills and guide them in optimizing their physical abilities so they can play and learn along with other children. That is the job of a pediatric PT. So does my work make me rich? Financially, no, but we're rich in food, friends, and lifetime relationships. Does it make me fulfilled? No doubt it does. I believe it is one of the most fulfilling jobs in the world, working directly with children and families for years at a time, and seeing the kids become active, healthy, and playing with other kids are my greatest reward. Does it make me tired? Yes, it does. I feel my age, my knees, my back, when I have to work on the mat and lift children who are spastic or stiff and cannot move on their own. A PT has to maintain a certain level of fitness, physical fitness. That's why I go to the gym with my kids and try to eat healthy. It is tiring emotionally and mentally as well. I have to be extremely patient and mentally fit to journey with families who are dealing with frustration and at times depression. I have to be healthy enough to be able to treat patients while educating and caring for their families too. So does my work make me happy? Most of the time it does. But it has its share of challenges that I continue to face and hopefully will overcome. So what are some of the challenges in my line of work? It is obviously not a high-paying job, at least locally. Healthcare workers in our country are sadly undercompensated. This is the reason why many of my batchmates are now working in the US and the UK. The physical and emotional demands can also take their toll over time, leading to burnout. This is why it is important to have vacations with the family and spend time with friends. May it be online or in person when conditions permit. Wala naman siguro kasing trabahong walang challenge. So we just choose the kind of challenges we can handle and try our best to overcome them. So where to now? There are always crossroads ahead and never-ending chances to make things better for me and the people around me. It is the same for you. So right now, I spend most of my days just keeping our center and school afloat, because of COVID-19, our industry has been badly hit. Many centers and schools for special kids have also closed down already. And part of what I do, aside from that, is really consulting for development partners. So right now I consult for Save the Children Philippines. As what was mentioned in the introduction, we provide, with the aid of the Australian government, we provide technical support to DepEd to capacitate the teachers to teach all children, regardless of their profile, okay, and their the factors contributing to their marginalization. So I started teaching and clinical work in 1997 and continue to do both up to this day. I teach teachers of students with disabilities. So I spend less time teaching students themselves as a special educator, but I spend more time teaching their teachers so I can have a greater impact on the students that these teachers would teach. I am part of the College of Education of UP Diliman and used to be with Miriam College as an administrator and a faculty member. In 2013, we converted our therapy center into, which is now a K-12 school for children with disabilities, to a nonprofit organization. So we can work with partners from government, civil society, and development agencies to widen our reach. We support homes for abandoned and surrendered children with disabilities, and train parents, teachers, and community workers and other stakeholders in different parts of the country to promote access to quality, inclusive education. So beginning 2017, we have also been more and more involved in development work so we can influence policies and programs on disability inclusion and serve other marginalized groups of children like children of IPs or ethnic minorities, the LUMADs, girls, religious minorities, and underserved children from low resource and remote communities. So we advocate for all children to be included and to enjoy their basic rights. It all began with a choice, preparing for the chance, and pursuing change that started with me. So let me end with this quote from Bruno. So I just changed the word family with world. You're exactly what this world needs. You just need to see it. So find your place, dear students, in the bigger scheme of things. Believe that you are called to make a difference and that there is a need that only you can fulfill in whatever industry you end up in. So it's waiting for you. Thank you for listening. Good morning once again to all.
GV Cabalya, thank you very much for that. Now we have another speaker. Again, Dr. Cabalya will be staying on and will be answering some of the questions that you will be posting. But now let's move on to the next speaker, Michelle.
Thanks again. So our last but not the least speaker is maybe known to most CPRs. We've known him since 2000.
Michelle, you're on mute again.
Sorry. Thank you. Okay, so our last but not the least speaker, I think most of the CPRs know him and his wife since he's our co-parent here at the Ateneo. He is the current Deputy Executive Director of the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center of the Department of Information and Communications Technology, where he assists in the setting of policies and implementation of strategies that would prevent, suppress, and prosecute cybercriminal activities within our territorial jurisdiction, as mandated by RA 10175. He graduated from the Philippine Military Academy with a degree in Naval Systems Engineering. His specialized military trainings include courses in Naval Special Warfare or SEAL course and Naval Intelligence Officers course. He studied Civil Affairs course and Psychological Operations Officers course at the JFK Special Warfare School in Fort Bragg, USA. He also received training from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security on export and border security and cross-border financial investigation. He completed advanced courses in new enterprise planning and personal entrepreneurial development at the University of the Philippines. He is a graduate of the National Defense College of the Philippines, Master in National Security Administration. In his spare time, he goes binge watching. He keeps fit by running, swimming, and scuba diving. Our speaker is actually a co-parent here in Ateneo Senior High School. He is the father of Sam Layug of 11 homes. Let us all give a warm welcome to Assistant Secretary James Layug.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Ladies and gentlemen of the grade 11 Ateneo Senior High School, teachers and faculty members, grade 11 PUSH Council and representatives, co-parents, fellow workers in Christ, good morning. I am Assistant Secretary James Layug of the Cybercrime Investigation Coordinating Center to discuss with you today the professional career fields under cybersecurity, cyber intelligence, and cybercrime investigation. The pandemic has accelerated the world's digital transformation, wherein 50% of almost all of our physical activities were relocated to the digital realm. Cyberspace is categorized as the fifth domain, with sea, air, land, and space being the other four. And it has opened a lot of opportunities for innovation, progress, and development. Sad to note that criminal elements also transition to the cyberspace, wherein they commit cybercrime. So what are cybercrimes? Cybercrimes can be categorized into three. First is the violation of confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. Samples of which are ransomware, internet fraud, and system hacks. Second are acts enabled by the use of computer systems and networks. For example, terrorist attacks facilitated through the internet. So that's the second category. And then third are content-related offenses. These are cyberbullying, online exploitation of children, cyber libel. The cybercrime has a ecosystem which consists of a triangle. First is we have the victim, which could be a person, organization, or data. The offender with the criminal desire and determination to do harm. And the opportunity provided for by the vulnerability, anonymity, and the technology in cyberspace. So the convergence of these three variables results in cybercrime. So what's the cost of cybercrime to our world today? As per Steve Morgan of Cybersecurity Ventures, cybercrime will cost the world $10.5 trillion annually by 2025. And in our country, as per Frost and Sullivan study, cybersecurity threats pre-pandemic period cost organizations in the Philippines $3.5 billion in economic losses. That's not to account for the unquantifiable amount of social cost to our country. As an institutional response, the national strategy to address this social issue is to prevent, suppress, and prosecute cybercrime through a whole-of-government approach with a strong stakeholders collaboration. So, who are the stakeholders in the anti-cybercrime family? It has three career fields category. First is the information systems and technology, which is currently a $13 billion industry that covers cybersecurity, digital forensics, data science and analytics, and web intelligence. There's also the field of law enforcement and defense, which is composed mainly of government services from the Philippine National Police, which is the anti-cybercrime group, from the NBI, which is the Anti-Cybercrime Division, and with our AFP, the Cyber Command. We're also involved in it, the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center. Lastly, there is also a career category in the criminal justice and legal system. Here we have the DOJ Office of Cybercrime, the DOJ National Prosecutor Service. We have the cyber courts and international law practitioners. To give you some insights on our profession, here is an introductory video of our agency, the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center.
Banking, shopping, and leisure. The use of internet has expanded over the years and has proven convenience, reliability, and connectivity. It empowers socioeconomic activities throughout the world. In fact, the Philippines is one of the fastest growing utilization of information and communications technologies in Southeast Asia as it adapts to the age of digitalization. As of January 2021, the country tallied a population of 110 million Filipinos with 89 million active social media users. This makes the country reach an 80.7% penetration rate, a 13% increase year on year. Meanwhile, a total of 87.84 million Filipinos are mobile social media users. With these statistics, it is undeniable that the Philippines is dubbed as the social media capital of the world. And yes, we are vulnerable. The Philippines continues to be among the top 5 targets of global cyber criminals. Data as of February 2021 showed that the Philippines ranked 4th globally and 2nd in Southeast Asia in terms of attempts to access a malicious URL, ranked 24th globally and 4th in the region in terms of malware detection. Cyber attack in the Philippines dates back in May 5, 2000. The infamous I Love You virus, authored by Juan de Guzman, has penetrated tens of millions of computers worldwide, including the Pentagon and the British Parliament. No laws can hold de Guzman convicted. In June 2000, RA 8792, known as E-Commerce Act, was promulgated in order to discourage future proliferations of such activity. On November 23, 2001, the Budapest Convention, as the first international treaty, seek to address internet and computer-related crimes. It laid the foundation for the creation of laws worldwide to penalize computer-related crimes. To further protect its citizens from cyber attacks, RA 10175, also known as Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012, was promulgated. Pursuant to this law, the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center, or the CICC, was created, with the mandate to monitor, coordinate, investigate, and prosecute. The appointment of Honorable Cesar O. Mancao II on August 2020 as its first executive director marked the activation and operationalization of the center.
Guided by its mandate, the CICC protects and secures the citizenry, country, and national sovereignty from the fangs of cybercrimes through formulation of effective institutional policies, programs to prevent, suppress, and prosecute cybercrime in all its forms, guises, and devices. And by the year 2025, CICC envisions to be manned by professionals and dedicated personnel who are fully equipped with knowledge, skills, and tools that would cater the path to a cyber-safe Philippines. Together with cybercrime groups of partner agencies from the Department of Justice, National Bureau of Investigation, and Philippine National Police, as well as private and public stakeholders, both local and foreign entities, CICC leads the Philippine government's effort in safeguarding our nation, institutions, and citizens from the risks and threats of cybercrime. Part of the mandate, the CICC manages to monitor cybercrime activities in the country. Here are the top 5 cybercrime cases monitored and handled by CICC as of August 2021. Project Angel Shield was established and operationalized to conduct relentless coordinated effort to prevent, disrupt, and stop the online sexual abuse and exploitation of children through collaborative partnerships with local and international stakeholders. This June 13, 2021, the CICC conducted an operation in various parts of Luzon, together with PNPACG, that led to the arrest of 41 alleged members of the cybersex ring. The CICC adopted the implementation of Project Domino that seeks to deter and deny online illegal gambling activities, suppress and dismantle online illegal gambling operations, and prosecute online illegal gambling operators. Pursuant to the directive of the President to curb the proliferation of illegal online gambling activities, the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation seek the assistance of the CICC in suppressing illegal online sabhang. The CICC produced swift results, of blocked 44 unlicensed online Sabhong websites. To further expand its coverage and presence in the country, CICC plans to establish regional field offices across the archipelago. Initially, the CICC plans to create its regional office up north in Baguio City. CICC also plans to expand its presence in the Queen City of the South, in Cebu City. Lastly, the CICC will establish its regional office in the southern Mindanao and will sit in the city of Davao.
For any cybercrime reports and concerns, you may contact CICC through these channels. Reach us on our website at cicc.gov.ph or search for our Facebook page with username at cicc.ph. You may also call us at 0966-652-4885 for Globe and 0920-626-0217 for smart, or email us at report@cicc.gov.ph. For walk-in complaints, visit us at our CICC building located at 49 Don Alejandro Rosas Avenue, Paligsahan, Quezon City.
CICC, your partner toward a cyber-safe Philippines.
So I hope that I was able to impart some important knowledge and valuable insights that would help you in creating your own career roadmap. At sana maging magkasama tayo at magkatuwang para sa magandang kinabukasan ng ating mga pamilya, ng ating komunidad at ng ating bansa tungo sa isang cyber-safe Philippines. And in closing, let me give these words of advice from H.L. Neri in choosing your professional career path. Remember, if you don't like your work, you'll need 3 times the energy. First is to force yourself to work. Next is to resist the force, and finally to work. But if you love your work, you work no more. For work when you like it is work no longer, but sheer enjoyment. Ladies and gentlemen of the Grade 11 Ateneo Senior High School, thank you very much. Live well, work hard, and rest easy. Maraming salamat po.
Inspiring parting words, ASIC James. Maraming salamat. Now we're going to ask you to stay. We have a couple of questions for our 3 speakers for this part of the program. Let me start with Anton. Anton, of course, your vocation and the path you took is very interesting for a lot of us. You even have a question here that's a bit more technical. It has something to do with your research. The income and income inequality are a matter of life and death. What can policymakers do about it? That may be a bit technical. I'll send that question to you directly so you can answer it. But maybe what I would want to hear from you is, you mentioned, of course, that you studied here in the Philippines and then went to the United States to study. And for those students who may want or who may be doing that as well in the next few years, maybe you can share what the experience was like in the transition and the difference between the educational system here and in the US.
Great, thank you for that question. I did receive that question about my income and health paper, so I'll maybe just type my answer during the when the other speakers are speaking to save time. So yeah, I will say it's very, very much possible for a Filipino student to attend college in the United States. All the universities in the United States are open to international students. So even if you don't have, citizenship from the United States, you can study here. Where it gets a little tricky is the financing part. How do you pay for it? And there are many, many scholarships available. Either they're competitive internationally or within the Philippines that you can apply for, or within the school that you choose. There might be scholarships available which you can receive, and that will pay for both your tuition and your boarding, right? Your dorm, and then your food and your supply. So it basically pays for everything. There might be a few other expenses that you have to shoulder, but generally many of these scholarships are pretty generous. I think VP Lenny's daughter studies in NYU with the same package of scholarship, right? Everything's paid for. She gets to attend NYU without any personal expenses necessarily. Now the transition is very interesting. It's very hard. It's not easy. So magkaiba yung kultura ng Pilipino at Amerikano. It's just a given. I had to pick up the accent to be able to be understood more clearly. I'm not very proud of it, but I had to, and I still switch when I need to. And there's college in the US and the Philippines are very different culturally too among the student body, right? So sa Pilipinas, sa high school, by experiences ng mga Amerikano, and so and many students actually leave home to go to college, and so they're very far from home. They obviously engage in activities that they are not able to do at home. So culturally, it's kind of interesting and fascinating, and can be shocking at first, but then you get used to it. You're in a new environment. I think my biggest tip for moving overseas is find the university where you have an existing community. So, for example, maybe you have relatives living in the area. Maybe you have friends of friends. Titas, titos, cousins, whatever. Because I think being close to family is really important and helped me, for example, at Santa Clara to just feel at home when I needed to be. So if there are other questions about that, I will actually type my email in the chat so everyone can save it. I'm more than happy to actually schedule calls with people, with students who might be interested in that and pursuing that and answering their specific questions there. So.
Oh, thanks for that, Anton. But just one more question.
Yeah.
Well, for me and maybe some other members of the family, it doesn't seem like you haven't stopped learning. We always see you maybe studying or learning, and now you're teaching. But what's your motivation in continuing to do that and never, burning out? For a lot of us, na malalaman na hanggang ngayon nag-aaral ka pa. Di ba nakakapagod yun? But what's your motivation?
How do I explain this? I think maybe I can, quickly explain this as, I'm maybe a geek or nerd at heart. Like I really like to learn about things I don't know about. And so as a person, my personality is to, if I don't know something, I will Google it. I will spend some time from a few minutes to a few hours to really understand what's going on there. And I think we all have that innately, this interest, this inquisitiveness of like, you could be applying it to a host of different things. I just happen to apply that to health, public health, human health. And now what keeps me motivated is I think I've found my ikigai, like I was trying to hopefully impart to students.
Your purpose,
my purpose. I think this profession I'm in has really aligned what I love, what I can do as a profession and career, get paid for it, right? What the world needs. And because all of that has clicked and made sense, I'm doing what I love, which is learning, answering questions, learning more, being a better human being. So I don't know. So I will say, we do. I think it varies from person to person. There's degrees of wanting to be in school for this long and pursue this type of career. So that's one of the important things you have to ask yourself. If you want to be a public health, researcher, professor, like I am trying to be, you do have to go through all the schooling I did. If this is of no interest to you, you don't have to, and you can still be involved in the field in very different ways. So anyway, it's really, it does take some thinking, some consulting with your parents who may or may not be in the same field, and then like our speakers have already said, find your mentors, find your network of people who you can talk to about these issues and ask questions, because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. People have gone through their experiences, and I can tell you people are open to sharing their experiences. You don't have to do the same mistakes as they did.
Thanks, Anton. Dr. G.V. Cabalya, I'm interested about the part when you opened your talk with responding to opportunities. If I could ask you to expound on maybe how to prepare for those chances and those opportunities when they come. Of course, a lot of us wouldn't know if we are going to be really, really 100% prepared when that opportunity comes. But how do you get ready?
How do I get ready? For one, studying. Sometimes you just study something of interest, not knowing where it will lead you to. Like even enrolling in postgraduate studies. It's just like, sige, enroll ako kasi wala namang ibang gagawin pa eh. Parang di ba, yung right after graduation, parang the opportunities were still limited. So why not, pursue another field? Because like that time when I graduated, there wasn't a masteral program yet for PT. That's why I went into master's in education. Then one thing led to another. So preparing for the opportunity, parang those opportunities just came. Like even your network of people, like I would always be open to really meeting people and expanding my network because you'll never know. Parang there are always opportunities out there. So yun yung preparation. Na parang sometimes kasi diba, it's easy for us to say no to a lot of things. I don't want to study some more. I don't want to go to this meeting, to this forum. I don't want to engage in this project kasi what's in it for me. But then not knowing that, somehow things align later on and yung nakilala ko before, siya ngayon yung kausap ko ngayon and I'm able to contribute and find work, something like that.
Okay, thanks for that, Dr. GV. ASIC James, you and Captain Narciso were part of the PMA. You were even batchmates, is that correct?
Yes, sir, classmates.
Oh, classmates pa. But I want to know how much of your training there came into play in the career you are in now, the training there, ano yung mga nakuha mo sa training at mga tinuro sa PMA na nagagamit mo ngayon? Well, hindi lang din sa trabaho but also in your life.
Yeah, maybe the discipline and the focus and then resiliency also. Yan ang mga training sa military na I was able to use throughout my entire career in the security field.
Also, James, siguro for those students who may be interested in wanting to join the department or maybe something related to that, what courses or training do they have to take or pursue in order to have a career in cybercrime prevention? Anong mga course kaya ang pwede nila makuha after senior high or training after that? Saan sila pwedeng pumunta?
Yeah, there are two entry path papunta dun sa cybersecurity, cybercrime, and cyber threat intelligence career. No, one is you go through the security studies and the criminology, so have that aptitude for law enforcement muna, and then you zone in dun sa technology. You marry it with the technology and digital capability. Yung iba naman, you can start with the information technology and data science. From there, zone in ka papunta sa cybersecurity and cybercrime investigation field. So dalawa siya eh. Pwedeng technical ka muna, you focus on the technical and then choose yung cybercrime, cybersecurity as a specialized field, or dun ka sa law enforcement side, even sa legal system also, and then you specialize sa information technology, sa data science, and things like that.
Okay, thank you very much, James. Now, back to Anton and GV. Both of you now teach. Ano yung pakiramdam na galing sa estudyante ngayon kayo na yung nagtuturo? How does it feel to teach and how rewarding is it for you to teach? Let's start with GV.
Well, ang hirap pala. Pero that's one thing you realize when you're already teaching, di ba? Plus, of course, iba na rin yung profile ng mga estudyante. So it helps that I have children of my own. So somehow parang nagagamay ko din yung paano ba how to relate to them. But how does it feel? Parang feeling ko it runs through my veins already teaching. Parang, as much as you say that you don't want to teach, I've said it many times, I want to stop teaching, I don't want to teach, I still end up back in the classroom. So it's just so rewarding to be teaching, and I just can't stop myself from fulfilling that vocation.
Thanks, GV. Anton?
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. So, and I think the inspiration probably started from being in Ateneo. I had really good teachers in Ateneo, teachers who came in regardless of what happened during the, in their home life or whatever is going on in their personal lives, came in prepared, ready to teach, ready to impart knowledge. And that was inspiring. So I think my first initial appreciation of teaching happened in high school. In college, of course, again, I had these really wonderful professors. I call them transformative instructors kasi nga iniba nila yung pagtingin ko sa kalusugan, and which was pivotal, which was transformative, which is really really special for me. And I think that's just been a source of inspiration. The thing I will say is there, teaching can be formal in the classroom type setting, but you can also be teaching people, your colleagues, your friends, in very informal ways, and that can also be equally rewarding. So for example, in my case, as somebody who works at the university as an instructor, I teach students outside the classroom. I give them advice, I mentor them, I help them with their projects, and that's also been rewarding to see people progress, find the right skills to solve problems. So anyway, hopefully, a lot of students here are also get interested in that piece of their careers to teach. And again, it can be teaching in the classroom formal sense, or you could end up in a bank, a big corporation, you name it, and you're still teaching, you're still instructing, you're still educating. And I think as long as you keep some interest in that, you would, would be a better place in some ways.
Thanks for that, Anton. That was Anton Avancenia. We also have our other speakers, Dr. G.V. Cabalya and ASEC James Layug. Now, before we wrap things up, we're going to call in Christine Uy again to read to you the certificate of appreciation that we'll be sending you guys. Christine?
Thank you, Ron. The Office of Parent Relations and Programs and the Parents Union for School and Home wish to acknowledge, thank, and express our deep appreciation for the valuable insights shared with our Ateneo students by Mr. Anton Lorenzo V. Avancenia, Dr. Genevieve R. Cabalya, and Assistant Secretary James A. Layug at the mini career exploration talks entitled Creating Your Own Career Roadmap, given on this 29th day of January 2022 at the Ateneo de Manila University, Loyola Heights, Quezon City. Signed, Mr. Honorio and Attorney Jessica Ann M. Lacson Hizon, Chair Couple Grade 11 Push Council, Father Alberto V. Ampil, S.J., Director, Parent Relations and Programs, and Mr. Noel P. Miranda, Principal, Ateneo de Manila Senior High School.
Thank you very much, Christine. Now, before we go again, we're going to ask our speakers, aside from the certificate of appreciation that we're going to be sending you, there's also a small token of our appreciation that will be sending your way as well. We'd like to have a photo with you guys, if you don't mind. So we're asking all of the students again, everyone, to switch on their cameras so we can have a nice photo with our speakers before they go. Okay, sino magkiklik-klik?
We'll take care of it, sir.
Okay.
So, can we ask, please, our speakers? Sa speakers muna po tayo, okay? So, can we ask our speakers to give us a nice smile? Ready? 1, 2, and 3. And then one more. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, maybe we can include our students this time.
Yes, please.
One, can we turn off the immersive view so we can see all the students? One. It's still on the immersive screen. Oh, there we go. Okay, we have, can we ask the students to turn on their videos just for a quick photo op? Okay, we have 4 pages, so just keep smiling. We don't know what page we will be on. Okay, so just keep smiling. And we will let you know when we're done. Okay, ready? 1, 2, and 3. Move on to the next page. We have a lot of ID pictures now. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. Third page. Still more ID pictures. 1, 2, and 3. And last page. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Once again, we'd like to thank our speakers, Anton Avancenia, Dr. Genevieve Cabalya, Assistant Secretary James Layug, and our earlier speakers, Ms. Isabel Lacson, Captain Roland Narciso, and Engineer Ray Piamonte. Before we call it a day, we'd like to call, may we have some fatherly advice from Mr. Elvin Aquino. He's the dad of Ethan from 11 Angeles.
Okay, thank you very much, Ron. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Evan.
All right. So thank you for staying up to this point. Being parents, we know it's very difficult for teenagers like you to wake up very early on a Saturday morning, and what more, listen to a 3-hour-long webinar outside the school day. Anyway, today is the first of 3 mini CAREX talks of the guidance and counseling program of the Ateneo Senior High School in partnership with the Prep Push office. Once again, the theme of this year's mini CAREX is creating your own career roadmap. The mini CAREX is specially tailored to supplement the objectives of the CAREX talks organized in the latter part of 2021 to broaden the students' awareness of various career opportunities in the future. To summarize our talks, our first speaker, Ms. Isabel Lacson, shared her journey in college when she selected chemistry as a major, wanting to become a chem teacher, which later she ended up despising. She shared her career journey working in an NGO, then the government, then consequently in the United Nations. A key takeaway from her talk was cultivate an interest, grow it into an expertise, and be a really good employee. Our second speaker, Captain Roland Narciso, talked about his career of being a pilot, which actually started within his family, who had several pilots in it. He mentioned that the secret to being okay with your salary is contentment. He also shared the basic KSAs, knowledge, skills, and attitudes of being a pilot. When asked, do you get scared when you fly? He replies, of course I do, but it encouraged me to improve myself continuously. Our third speaker, Engineer Ray Batman Piamonte, tackled the field of engineering. So why did he take engineering? He mentioned that one's family is usually a good influence in choosing one's career. To be an engineer, one has to have the knack of fixing things or addressing problems. He shared 3 things to be an engineer, needed to be an engineer. One is time management. Number 2 is mastering the art of problem solving and learning how to learn. Our fourth speaker, Mr. Anton Avancenia, shared his journey as a public health advocate, how his interest started actually from the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health, which ended up in other institutions in the United States. In his field, he promotes research, teach, advocate. He ended his talk by sharing ikigai, which is a Japanese concept describing the reason for being. Our fifth speaker, Dr. Genevieve Cabalya, mentioned that she never really planned to be where she is now. She shared that the choice of vocation is normally responding to opportunities that come your way as you live your life. She shared a slide on change and chance and the 4 questions that can help one determine a future college course. Same concept she applied to her 2 children. She mentioned that she is a medical professional, but is actually a different kind of doctor, as she said. And finally, our last speaker, ASEC James Layug, started his talk by mentioning that the COVID pandemic has actually accelerated digitalization globally. A majority of his sharing was on cybercrime, what it costs the country, how it affects organizations, and careers stemming from cybercrime prevention. With this, it is our fervent hope that somehow the objectives of the mini Carex talk today was met with the sharing of our 6 speakers for the past 2 hours. From the Carex talks held late last year, together with this mini Carex today, we wish you are now in a better position and have more information on hand to decide on the college degree you would pursue. And as Mr. Miranda's mentioned earlier, provided you with more information inside your sorting hat, as he mentioned in his opening. Nevertheless, please always keep in mind that this is the reason why we, your parents, are here. Kung meron pa kayong mga katanungan, kausapin nyo lang kami. No? Tutulungan namin kayong masagot ang mga tanong ninyo. No? There is no such thing as stupid questions. Please ask. Kung kayo ay may mga ate o kuya na nasa kolehiyo na o di kaya nagtatrabaho na, sila ay magandang makausap nyo rin. Bukas din ang Ateneo, ang inyong mga guro at ang guidance office para matugnan ang inyong mga tanong. As a close, today's event has been possible because of reliable, hardworking, community-minded, forward-looking individuals and institutions who are committed to our youth and their future. Lives are changed through education. The Ateneo Senior High School community is ever appreciative of this support. We are proud of the grade 11 students as they embark on the next stage in their education. Congratulations to all, and on behalf of the Ateneo Senior High School, thank you for joining us this morning in our Mini Carex program. Keep safe, everyone.
Elvin, maraming salamat. Thank you for the heartfelt pieces of advice. Napakagandang suggestion at advice yun. Now, we started the seminar with a prayer, and it's only fitting that we also end this event with another prayer. May we call on Miss Anika Rene Anguluan, the class president of 11 Escribano GA Strand, for the closing prayer.
Okay, so let us put ourselves in the holy presence of the Lord and adore his holy name. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, as we conclude today's talk, we lift up our hearts to you. We praise and glorify you for the opportunity that you have given us to learn from all of our guest speakers today. We thank you for all 6 of these professionals who have imparted their knowledge and wisdom to us students. We would also like to express our gratitude for the parents and teachers who helped make this event possible. May you continue to guide us in making wise decisions for our futures. May your grace be with us as well as we fulfill our duties and responsibilities as members of our own communities. Grant that we do this fully aware that it is not for ourselves that we learn, but for the service of other people. Make us realize that all our actions and plans should be done for your greater glory. Lastly, we pray that the next 2 Carex sessions will also be successful and that we will be able to learn a lot from them as well. All these we ask through Jesus Christ, your Son. Amen.
Amen.
Saint Ignatius
Anika,
of
thanks.
Loyola, pray for us.
Pray for us.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Sorry about that, Anika. Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for joining us again this morning. And as Anika mentioned, we hope to see you again on the next 2 sessions that are going to be on February 5 and 19. And the registration for the February career talks is still open. We're also asking everyone, the students, to accomplish the feedback form. Just go back to your email for the link to the feedback form. The link was also posted there in our chat box. Now, in behalf of the Parents Union for School and Home, Grade 11 Council, Father Bert Ampil, Director of the Office of Parent Relations and Programs, I'm Ron Cruz. It was such a pleasure for me to host this event. Stay safe, everyone, and have a great weekend. Thank you.